What's up, guys? I got the Cracked Gibson guitar controller. Cracked is a pretty interesting brand that has gotten on my radar recently with the whole revival of the 5-fret rhythm games, mainly with Fortnite Festival. Since Festival released, there has been a handful of guitars that have been announced and released, but this one in particular caught my eye for multiple reasons. The build quality is incredible. It looks sick. It does pretty much everything the old controllers did, but better, and it's compatible with almost everything you'd want to use it on, including the PS3. Meaning not only can I use this thing to play Fortnite Festival, Clone Hero, and Yarg on my computer, I can also use it to play all of my old Guitar Hero and Rock Band games. We've got a good amount to talk about with this guitar. It currently comes in two different editions, the Blueberry Burst Edition and the Black Tribal Edition. And there are two versions of each of those guitars. One is the Xbox version, which is primarily meant for Xbox players, but has some compatibility with other things. And the other is the multi-platform version, which works with everything else. I don't know why Xbox had to have its own special little controller. I'm sure there's like licensing reasons or whatever. I bought the multi-platform one, so for the rest of this review, that is what I'm going to be referring to. If you want to buy the Xbox one, there might be some slight differences that I don't really know of. Hardware-wise, the Black Tribal Edition features the same classic rubber dome frets and mechanical strum bar that everybody knows and loves, and the Blueberry Burst Edition features mechanical fret buttons and a new Hall Effect strum bar with haptic feedback. Other than that, the two controllers are identical. There's a platform switch that makes the controller register as said platform's controller. There's a mode dial that lets you switch between different controller bindings. There's every button you'd find on a normal game controller, somehow jammed into here. There's the key jam mode that just turns the controller into a keyboard and mouse. Both joysticks are also Hall Effect, for some reason. There's Bluetooth, a 2.4 GHz dongle, and a wired mode to connect with. There's a rechargeable, but also removable battery. Just shout out to controllers with removable batteries, guys. Good lord. Prices are going to vary depending on which version and edition you buy, but it's around $130. And for that price, it really does feel like they jammed as much as they possibly could into this little guitar. On paper, this thing seems like it's one of the best guitars ever made. But how does it play? So far, I've used this controller for about 30 hours in Clone Hero, and maybe 3 or 4 in Fortnite Festival. Personally, I stopped playing Festival because of the FOMO update, but I didn't feel it would be right to review this controller without playing it on a game that it was advertised to mainly be used with, right? 3 out of the 9 mode dials are for Fortnite Festival. I should probably test out Fortnite Festival. I also spent an afternoon going back through my catalog of Guitar Hero and Rock Band games, and I will say that it played perfectly on the PS3. There was no issues. I just plugged the dongle in, changed it to PS3 mode, synced the controller, and it just worked. Just like any other Guitar Hero controller would. Now, while I typically want to get a little bit more time in with a controller before I review it, usually around the 50-hour mark, I don't think that's really going to be a problem. I think my opinion's going to stay about the same. And that's why when I say that this controller is probably one of the best guitar controllers I've ever used, I mean it. It plays wonderfully. I got some small issues here and there, but it's not that many. Mostly this guitar is good. The buttons react to such a light touch that I don't even have to account for pressing down the button anymore. I just move my finger to the color and it just presses the button. It's incredible. The strum bar definitely feels different than the loud, clacky, old mechanical strum bars that used to be in controllers, but it's not a bad feeling. I kind of like it. That haptic feedback really does help. I think it's a good mix between old Rock Band and old Guitar Hero controllers. It's not quite clacky, but it's not mushy, The whammy bar is perfect. Kind of hard to mess up a whammy bar. It is in a little bit of a bad spot for me, but we'll get to that later. The star power button, while not immediately under the strum bar, which I think is the best spot to put it, it's in a close enough spot that you can get used to hitting it pretty easily. And at least this thing has a star power button, unlike some other guitar controller that came out somewhat recently. This thing worked flawlessly on pretty much every game I tested it on. But while this controller is pretty much perfect, there is some issues with it. At least I have some issues with it. Okay, now keep in mind, most of these issues probably won't affect you because most of you are going to be playing righty and not lefty. The whammy bar for lefty players is in the way. The knobs, they're in the way. It's a star power button. It's a little uncomfortable to have to like move my wrist down to hit the button rather than just going straight down. Again, like I said, the placement of star power should be right here. Wired mode has the cord sticking out of one of the only good spots to rest your wrist. So if you play on it for a few hours, you will notice that you will start to bend the cord a little bit. And that just didn't feel right. I felt like I was going to break it, so I don't really play wired mode. I've only been playing in the wireless 2.4 gigahertz dongle, so. However, that's pretty much the only issues I've had with this thing, and those are issues that, again, aren't going to affect the majority of people using this guitar. I did test it with the Android version of Clone Hero and Fortnite Festival. Festival worked perfectly. Clone Hero did not. Big shocker, Android Clone Hero hasn't been updated or maintained in years. It's no longer supported, and this guitar never claimed to work with it, so obviously I didn't expect it to work. My only other complaint doesn't even have to do with the guitar itself. It's the Cracked app, which is the same problem that I mentioned in the Doohickey review that I did like half a year ago. If someone else has registered this guitar into their Cracked app, and they don't unclaim it, then no one else can sync it to their app. Which means if somebody forgets about the whole Cracked app thing, and then they sell the guitar, and then you buy one second hand, guess what? You can't sync it to your smartphone, which means you can't set custom keybinds, or custom mode dials, or, you know, update the controller's firmware. I would say those are pretty essential functions that are being advertised as part of this guitar, right? So you're essentially not getting something you're paying for if this scenario happens to you. And you know what? I'm sure that you could get the problem resolved by contacting customer support. However, I don't think it should be a problem to begin with. There's no fucking reason for it. Fix the problem. And that's it. That's my thoughts on the controller. Sorry, I got a little heated there. This thing is just wonderful. I mean, it is the best guitar controller that I've ever used, and probably one of the best ones to ever hit the market. If you're interested in picking this thing up, do it. I can't recommend it enough. It's a solid choice. And if you're wondering how it compares to the Riffmaster, you know, the other guitar controller that came out for Fortnite Festival, I'm also releasing a video on that one at the same time that this one comes out. So make sure to go check it out. It's going to be linked somewhere. I don't know. Anyways, I'll see you later.